All right, let's jump right into this explainer because today we're talking about a massive, literal game changer in how you handle your money. So picture this, right? You finally do the responsible thing. You start saving every single month. You move a little bit of cash into your savings account, maybe $100 here, 200 there, and honestly, you feel really good about it. You feel disciplined, responsible, you're doing exactly what everyone always told you to do.
And hey, I absolutely want to validate that because those are excellent habits. But then you have that moment. One day, you open up your banking app, you look at your balance, and you realize something super frustrating. You're looking at your hard-earned cash, but there is virtually zero growth. Meanwhile, you're hearing your friends or people online talking about investing and stocks and compound growth, and suddenly that little voice in your head goes, wait, am I doing this wrong?
To really understand that creeping feeling of doubt, just look at this number, $50. Imagine you have $10,000 sitting in a savings account. If it's earning a typical 0.5% interest rate, well, after an entire year of diligently keeping your hands off that money, you've made a grand total of $50. Honestly, it's kind of a gut punch when you see it laid out like that, isn't it?
Okay, so let's really dive into this because we need to start with a hard truth that might actually sound a little controversial if you've spent your whole life just trying to stockpile cash. Saving money alone will almost never make you wealthy. Look, saving is absolutely crucial, for sure, but it's not the final goal. It is literally just stage one of the journey.
It actually requires a complete mental paradigm shift to realize that these two things have completely different jobs. Think of it like this. Your savings account. That is designed to protect your money. Your investments, those are designed to grow your money. You wouldn't use a hammer to drive in a screw, right? In that exact same way, you really shouldn't use a savings account to try and grow your wealth.
And wow, this just brilliantly illustrates the staggering mathematical difference between the two over time. Let's run the math real quick. If you have 10 grand in a savings account earning a slightly better 1% interest, after 20 years you'll have about $12,200. But if you invest that same 10 grand, say in the S&P 500, which historically averages around at 10% return, after 20 years, you're looking at roughly $67,000. I mean, that is the exact same starting money, but a totally different life-altering outcome.
Which brings us to this fascinating realization. You know, we always hear about savers versus spenders, but the biggest wealth gap out there actually isn't between people who save and people who spend. It's between people who save and people who invest. So, why do so many of us get stuck at just the saving stage? Well, the barrier actually has nothing to do with being bad at math. It's entirely about psychological fear.
Think about it. Saving just feels safe. It's visible, it's stable, it doesn't just randomly drop by 5% on a Tuesday afternoon. Investing, on the other hand, that feels risky. It's volatile, it bounces up and down, and man, it really triggers our emotions. And let's be clear, it's a completely valid fear to not want to lose your hard-earned savings to the stock market. Which is exactly why you can't just blindly throw your cash in. We have to transition in stages.
So, step 1. Build a real emergency fund.
Before you invest a single dollar, you really need 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved safely in cash. And to be clear, this money is not for investing, and it's not for seizing some sudden business opportunity. It's strictly for the unexpected stuff. Job loss, a medical emergency, your car breaking down. Because here's the thing. An emergency fund protects your investments from your own life. The absolute #1 mistake people make is panic selling their investments because they suddenly need cash. But if you have that cash cushion sitting safely in the bank, you never have to interrupt your investments just to fix your car's transmission.
Okay, step 2. Separate saving from investing mentally.
This is a simple mental trick, but I promise you it will dramatically reduce your financial anxiety. I want you to start picturing your finances in two totally distinct buckets. Bucket 1 is your safety money. This is your emergency fund. It does not move, it does not drop, it's just there to give you peace of mind. Bucket 2 is your growth money. This is the money you are intentionally allowing to fluctuate. By explicitly giving Bucket 2 permission to bounce up and down, you kind of remove that emotional panic when the market takes a temporary dip. You just know its job is to grow over the long haul.
Actually, I love this analogy because it hits the nail on the head. Keeping all your money in savings is basically like storing seeds in a glass jar. You are perfectly protecting them, sure, but absolutely nothing is ever going to grow. Investing is like taking those seeds and planting them in the dirt. At first, it's messy. You don't see results right away, but over time, things grow, and eventually you get a harvest that is way, way bigger than those original seeds.
Which leads right into step 3, start investing small.
There's this huge myth out there that you need thousands of dollars to even start investing. That is simply not true anymore. Tons of modern platforms let you start with literally just $50 or $100.
And when you do start small, keep this in mind. The goal isn't massive profits right out of the gate. The goal is building the habit. At this early stage, getting into the disciplined rhythm of moving money into an investment account matters far more than trying to perfectly time the market.
Once that habit is locked in, we hit step 4. Focus on simple investments first.
Now, this is where so many beginners completely derail themselves. They finally get the courage to invest and boom, they jump straight into the most stressful, complicated stuff imaginable. Day trading, options, wild crypto bets. Please, just keep it simple. Let's talk about index funds. An index fund just tracks the overall stock market. So instead of you trying to pick one magical winning company and risking everything, an index fund lets you buy tiny pieces of hundreds of top companies all at once. Instant diversification, lower risk, steady growth. It's simple, and it just works.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor of all time, has repeatedly recommended low-cost index funds for most people. When the most successful guy in the game tells you that the boring, simple strategy is actually the best way to build wealth, that should give you immense confidence to just tune out the noise and stick to the basics.
Bringing us to our final piece of the puzzle. Step 5. Stay disciplined and let compounding work.
Honestly, the most powerful investing strategy on earth is incredibly boring. It's just consistent investing over a long period. Let's look at what happens when you combine discipline with time. Say you invest $300 a month into the stock market. You do this month after month for 25 years. If the market averages an 8% return, you might think, okay, I'm just stacking up my own cash. Well, over those 25 years, your actual out-of-pocket contribution, the money from your paycheck, is $90,000.
But check out the other side of the math. After those 25 years, your total account balance is sitting at roughly $285,000. That means almost $195,000 of that total was generated entirely by compound growth. That is money that your money made for you while you were sleeping or working or just living your life. That is the magic of compounding.
Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. You're looking at that and going, okay, sounds amazing, but what if the market crashes? And you know what? That is a totally natural, 100% valid objection. But here's the reality. Market crashes are perfectly normal. They've happened dozens of times throughout history.
But here is the secret that kind of shifts everything. Long-term investors actually benefit from those downturns. Think about it. If you're consistently investing your $300 every single month, when the market drops, your money suddenly buys more shares at a lower price. It's literally like your favorite index fund goes on clearance. This leads to even stronger returns when the market eventually recovers. Experienced investors don't panic because they think in decades, not days. They use that volatility to their advantage.
Okay, let's bring it all together and review the roadmap. Step 1, build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Step 2, separate your safety money from your growth money mentally. Step 3, start small but do it consistently. Step 4, focus on simple, effective index funds. And Step 5, stay disciplined over time and just let compounding do the heavy lifting.
At the end of the day, saving money gives you stability. And look, we all need that. But investing is what actually gives you freedom. And the earlier you combine those two tools, the more powerful your financial future becomes. So, I want to leave you with a quick question to think about as we wrap up this explainer. Are you currently sitting safely in the saving stage, or have you already planted those seeds and started investing? Take a look at your own journey, take that next step, and start building your freedom. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me today.